If you had taken a walk down Wall Street on October 19th, 1987, right, like it was chaos. The stock market had plunged 25% that day. Imagine losing 25% of your net worth in one day, right? So it was chaos. There were people crying on the streets, packing their things in cardboard boxes, calling their wives at home and telling them, "Sorry, honey, we can't go on vacation this year," or we're not going to be able to retire quite as soon, or we're going to have to cut back, etc., etc. Some people were flinging themselves outside of windows. And then one man, Nassim Taleb, was walking around with a big smile on his face because he had just been proven right. Taleb didn't predict the stock market crash. Nobody did, and that's the whole point. In his book, The Black Swan, Nassim Taleb talks about the idea that he's been thinking about his entire life, which is that every so often something happens that nobody sees coming, that some people don't even think is possible, that changes everything. As Vladimir Lenin said, in some decades nothing happens, and in some weeks, decades happen. Taleb says that we think we live in what he calls mediocristan, a world where the sorts of things that matter the most are the sorts of things that happen every day. But really we live in extremistan, a world where the things that matter the most are the things that happen very rarely. A good example of this is airport security, right? Once upon a time, if you were going to fly, you just had to go through a metal detector. And today you have to take your shoes off, you have to put your laptop in a separate bin, you have to get rid of all your liquids, gels, and hairstyles. And why is that? Is it because there were frequent plane hijackings? No. It's because there was one really, really big plane hijacking. Most people don't realize that they live in extremistan, and there are a few reasons for this. The first is that the human brain didn't evolve in extremistan. When we were on the plains of Africa 100,000 years ago, there weren't any stock market crashes, there weren't any planes flying into skyscrapers, there weren't any hit songs that everyone was listening to that they played on the radio every 30 minutes. Daily survival was about getting enough food and avoiding tigers. Also, we don't realize that we live in extremistan because extremistan events happen very, very rarely, often enough that we forget about them because they haven't happened in a while. For example, I'm 24 years old, and during my life there have been three major extremistan events. There's been 9/11, the housing crisis of 2008, and then COVID. When you have to go 8 or so years between big extremistan events, it's easy to forget that they even happen. And then finally, we don't understand extremistan too well because we're not taught to think about randomness in extremistan terms. We're taught to think about randomness in the context of something like a casino game, right? So if you go to a blackjack table, you sit down, you know what the odds are, you know what you win if you win, and you know what you lose if you lose. But the real world doesn't work that way. Nassim Taleb gets very frustrated by people in finance and economists and anybody who tries to create complex models of how the world works solely based on past data, right? He calls this the ludic fallacy. Basically what they're trying to do is turn uncertainty in the real world into a casino game by saying, here is everything that's happened in the past. So this is the set of things that could happen. And so in the future, we're going to play the game as if it were a game with known rules where this is the set of outcomes. And the problem with doing that is there could be an outcome that you've never seen before, right? You don't know that everything that's possible has already been observed. When you sit down at a blackjack table, you know that you're not going to be dealt a card with a value of 1,000, right? Because there are no 1,000 cards in the deck. But if you invest in the stock market, you don't know what the cards in the deck are. So something could happen that really surprises you. Taleb shares an anecdote in the book about how even casinos have more to fear from Black Swan events than from big losses in their casino games. He talks about how he went to Las Vegas for a conference on risk, and he started talking to a manager of a casino. And that guy told him that the 4 biggest days of the year where they lost the most money were not days where some high roller came in and won a bunch of money at craps. They were days where something weird happened, right? Like one time they had a show going on where there was a guy with a tiger and the tiger ate the guy, so they had to refund all the fans. So according to Nassim Taleb, trying to predict the future is a fool's game. And instead what you have to do is you have to use strategies where when something big happens, you're safe. For example, Taleb says that investors should keep most of their net worth in safe stuff like cash and cash equivalents, and only take risks with a small part of their portfolio. And then when you do take risks, one great way to take risks is to bet on black swans happening. And this is how Nassim Taleb made his living for a long time. He was an options trader, and what he would do is he would buy options for all kinds of different things. And then anytime there was a wild swing in the market, he would call his options and he would make a fortune. Another way that Taleb made money from black swans is by writing books, right? Now, publishing is a black swan positive business because most books make no money. Some books make a little bit of money. And then every now and then, a book makes so much money that it pays for all the losers, right? Now, pharma is kind of like that too. Some drugs make no money, some drugs make a little bit of money, and a few drugs make a lot of money. Venture capital is like that too. Most companies go bust and lose money. Some companies make a little bit of money, and then some winners pay for all the losers. So one of the big messages of the Black Swan is to expose yourself to more serendipity. Do things where you don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you know something good is likely to happen. As Yogi Berra said, it's hard to make predictions, especially about the future. So that's it for today's Theo's Book Club. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new around here, my name's Theo. I make brief videos like this one detailing the big ideas from all the books that I read. If you like this video, hit the like button. That tells YouTube to show it to more people, which I would greatly appreciate as a growing channel. And you can also subscribe if you want to see my friendly face pop up in your feed more often. And have a great day.